Okay, Alex, here we go then. So just a quick overview of our large format lasers, and I think I can put that into a full screen mode, which will make it a little bit easier to see. Basically, we've got a range of 5 machines in that large format. 2 are sort of machines that we've had for a few years, the SP500 and the SP1500. You could think about the 1500 as being 2 500s put together. It's got a sort of gull wing door configuration. And the SP machines, of which there are 3 of in the range, and they share the same type of configuration, which is being open on all 4 sides and having a modular table system, which we can change very quickly for slats or lamellas, and the aluminium cutting grid, which is very robust, and honeycomb table, so on and so forth. So they're the 3 newest to the party. We should perhaps just talk about the sizes that we cover with these machines. So 1245 by 710 with the SP500. We used to think that was very large until we had these new SP machines. The 1500 is actually 1500 millimeters by 1250 millimeters, and that is a real rigid machine. It's a real workhorse. Then the SP2000, 3000, and 4000. Well, we cover 1680 by 2510, 2210 by 3210. And
if you're keeping up, you're doing well.
A lot of figures there, but we might test you on that a bit later. Okay. All right. So I thought we'd just have a quick look at the SP3000 on the sort of configurator here.
So would you say that this is probably the most popular, Andy, of the kind of the solutions that people go for on this size?
It's certainly been the most popular here in the United Kingdom. So most of our customers have taken an SP3000. So it takes the sort of standard size 3 meter by 2 meter worksheets. The 4000 is for rolls of material, I would say, technical textiles, perhaps. Yeah, of course it will cut by its very nature organic materials like acrylic. We've got an SP2000 here in Guildford, and we've got 1 or 2 of those at customers all over the UK as well, where they're perhaps processing the old-fashioned 8 foot by 4 foot materials. And the honest truth is, here at Guildford, we didn't have any more space to put the 3000 in any case, so that kind of fitted the bill. These lasers, they come from 100 watts up to 400 watts, and we've got a few customers with 400 watts, but I think I'm right in saying, and I will ask Alex, because he's the expert that goes out to all of our large format installations and oversees them and manages them. I believe the majority are 200 watt water cooled systems.
Yeah, I think so. With the 200 watt, it's really flexible in terms of obviously your cutting and engraving. It does most of the kind of work that are standard, kind of customers are looking for. The real benefit of that 400 watt really is the speed factor. So especially customers who are more into production, so where they literally, every single minute counts, then that's when that extra power really comes into its own.
Yeah, and customers get a lot more productivity out of these SP systems, because as you can see, they're open on all 4 sides, so they're not covered at all. They are still class 2 machines, and we've got a clever bit of apparatus which was tested by the European Commission, and it has passed its class 2 laser safety test and is certified as such. It's really easy to load. I think we've got 1 or 2 customers that might have sort of suction cups lifting heavier pieces on, but you can get 4 people easily around a sort of fairly chunky bit of acrylic and load the table quite easily there. Any experiences out in the field that you'd like to comment on, Alex?
I think that's the real difference. I mean, a lot of the customers who purchase these machines, we do have obviously new customers every year, but we also have obviously quite a big proportion where we're replacing existing equipment. And the big difference really with our system is the fact that it is open, which makes it a lot easier to work with in terms of the loading and unloading. But also, if you have a look at as you'll see as well, the actual footprint of the machine in terms of the actual bed size to the overall size of the machine is good as well. So that means we can get it into tighter spaces, And also when we install the machine, we actually assemble the machine on site. So it doesn't come pre-built. It all gets fully assembled and tested at the factory in Austria. It then gets taken all back apart, put into a series of crates, and then shipped to the customer, where we actually assemble it on site. So the reason behind that is really for accessibility. So it means that even if we have limited access to the actual warehouse or the environment, we can bring them in box by box and actually assemble it and test it all on your site.
Yeah, and we've made installations all over the United Kingdom and into IRA from here for various applications, some of which we're not allowed to say what they are, but anything that you can think of processing with a smaller CO2 laser, we can do at much greater scale with these machines. An interesting thing as well is these lasers, although they're not predominantly for engraving, they will engrave as well. And one of the longer applications we've seen on the SP3000s has been the production of three-dimensional, shall we say, soundproofing wall art, or just art for walls. So you can imagine that some of those jobs, I'm guessing they might take 15 to 20 hours or longer. I'm not too sure, Alex. I wouldn't even have to guess at it.
Yeah, so I think on some of them, depending, obviously, it all depends on your print resolution, but you can be looking at like 8 or 9 hours. I know we have got one customer in Dubai who I believe has several of these machines all lined up, and they purely do, interior paneling for homes and shopping locations. So it is possible to engrave with this machine, but we really talk about it really as a cutting machine.
Yeah. Shall I pop the view off here? Are you happy to press on?
Have a little walk around.
I'll remember to stop share now. There we go. Back to normal.
Okay, so I'll just bring the screen up, and then we can take you around with the camera and we can have a look at the machine. So again, if you do have any questions, do ask away in the chat, and then that will keep Andy entertained.
Yep, got to give me something to do. I'll get in trouble otherwise.
So here we can see the overview of the machine, and as you can see, it's very easy to access it from all angles and all areas. So it means you can load from both the front and the back of the machine. Some customers will actually feed in parts from the front. Obviously, it's easy to feed it across the front of the machine and then unload off the back of the machine as well. So it's really built for easy use. And of course, in order to fill the safety requirements, we have our standard e-stops on each corner, as well as the other part of the system which we supply with it, which is the actual operating console itself. So this little table here comes with the machine. It has a computer built into it, and this has all of our controls. The good thing is, if you already have experience using a Trotec laser, essentially the workflow is identical. So if we have a quick look over at the keypad, and here you can see we have our standardized keypad on here, and that just allows us to do all of our basic controls. So for example, if we have a look over at the laser head itself, to bring it to focus, I can then just press the key and then bring the laser head down towards us. So if we have a little discussion about some of the safety side of the machine, what we have is we're not actually able to access this work area, so where the laser head is, without triggering a pause function. So if anyone tries to get into the work area, the machine will simply enter the pause state. It means that you don't lose any of your work, and you can actually continue on with it. And as soon as that happens, the laser does shut off. So if we have a quick look, hopefully just at the top, you might be able to see there's a little green light, and then that's just connected to the main board of the machine. And as soon as I break the barriers, you can see it switches to red. So we have a visual indicator, and again, that can be built in. Some customers have that located into the ceiling and the walls as
If
well.
you've already got a Trotec, you'll recognize the beep.
As well as the light barriers, so this is what's protecting. So we have barriers that go across here that protect it. We also have bumpers, so if for any reason anyone is to come into contact with the side here, you can see it's just a little sprung-loaded barrier. And the other thing about this as well is when it's activated, it actually breaks the motors as well. So it's not just a case of turning the power off to the motor drive system. It actually breaks it to try and stop it as quickly as possible. So if we come across to the laser head itself, the next thing to notice is the setup with the safety disc. So this safety disc here is just going to hover above the material, and it's also actually magnetic, which means I can just pop it on and off very easily, like so. And the reason behind that is, obviously, as I'm sure you're aware, when you work with different materials, sometimes they're not always flat, or maybe somebody forgets that they leave something on the actual bed itself. Then if there's any little knock into here, all it does is knock the safety disc off and enter the pause state, rather than causing any damage to the machine.
So it's that's that safety disc is what's giving us our Class 2 certification, yeah, Alex?
Yeah, exactly. And we don't have to wear any additional PPE. You don't have to have a laser safety officer. It would be exactly the same as if you're looking to purchase one of our standard machines. So if we have a quick talk about the rest of the head design on the system, let me just take the camera off so you can get a bit of a closer look. What we have here, as you can see, first of all, we have two air lines coming down into the head, and this machine actually receives positive air pressure from a compressor 24 hours a day. So the reason behind that is generally these machines go into more industrial environments or workshops where obviously there can be a lot more dust in the air, and we supply positive pressure not only to the head assembly up here, but also to the laser tube and the actual beam path of the laser. So you're still over your year's use of the machine, there's still a chance you can get some dust into your beam assembly and the path, like any machine needs to your basic maintenance. But it really does protect it from any major build-up and provides very good protection to the system. The other part of the head is we have this tube here. So this is the head feed for the exhaust. So we have exhaust coming through the bed and also through the head of the machine. And finally, pretty much all of our customers spec the machines with job control vision. So that's the camera system, which will scan around the artwork, pick up the printed registration marks, and then cut out the job.
Yeah, can I just add in there, Alex, talking about the sort of preventative maintenance. The lens assembly comes out nice and easily, just like it does on the sort of Speedy 300 and the larger variants of the Speedy. So you can really get into it in a matter of seconds, check that everything is okay, give it a clean if you need to, and away you go.
Yeah, and as you can see, obviously, as we have a much higher powered laser, you can see the optics are noticeably a lot larger, and that's because we use a larger beam diameter to transport the laser to the head. It's just more efficient. That means we lose less power from the source to the actual cutting head.
Yeah, and a rule of thumb is 10 watts for every millimeter of acrylic. So a 200 watt laser will cut 20 mil acrylic with ease. And of course, and if you already have a lasers, I'm sure most of you have if you're here, then we know that we can slow down the laser to go thicker. But a 400 watt laser would make much lighter work of cutting 25 mil acrylic, cut at a much faster speed than a 200 would.
Exactly, and I think that's really kind of the process that we go through with our customers. Is normally a 200 watt will do pretty much everything our customers would like, but then we have to consider that speed with the 400 watt itself. So we'll start cutting with the machine in a minute, but I'll just give you a quick look at the other parts that you need to support this kind of machine. So if we just have a quick look down here, you can see that we have the compressor itself. So this is just obviously not something that we supply, but it's just obviously something that you need for the machine. So a 6 bar of inlet pressure. And then the next two parts that we do supply are the extraction and the chiller. So because this is a much higher powered laser and is designed to be used for production and continuous use, we do use a water cooled version. So this is the water chiller here. And again, if you went to the 400 watt machine, you would then have an even bigger chiller. And then finally, we have the extraction system. So this is our own vent system, and this will automatically turn on and off as we run the job, just like one of our Speedies. And that one is actually in the noise cancelling cabinet, which means you can fairly easily stand in the room with the machine while it's running.
Yeah, a bit auto starting. The great thing is you never forget to turn it on or turn it off. So you don't start off in a room full of smoke.
Right. So what I thought we'd do is we'll have a go at making a sign. Again, if you do have any questions at all, then do ask away. But we'll start by cutting a bit of 9mm MDF. So I'll just quickly move the laser head back. So one thing to note is the bed is made up of these sections of table. At the moment, we are just using the grid table, but I'll show you some of the other table options that we have as well in a little bit. So we'll start off by making our base plate out with some 9mm MDF. So we've got the bed blocked off, and this is really something you should be doing even if you have a speedy machine, is we're just blocking off the bed just to make sure we get the absolute best extraction we can around our cut job.
Yeah, that is a top tip. That's really going to maximize the pressure underneath the job and get the efficient extraction of any smoke and particulate. Oh, smoke and gas. Sorry, particulate is smoke.
So I've just brought the laser head above the material, and then the machine has our sonar focus system, the same as that you can get in the Speedy 360 and the 400. So I just simply press these two buttons here, and the machine will then lower the head slowly using the ultrasonic sensor to set the work height. So the machine is now focused, and let me just bring up job control so that I can share across to job control. So the machine works exactly the same in terms of the software flow. The only difference is we have the ability up here to set a safe working height. So just press that there, and then that has now brought the laser head up to a safe distance above the material. Again, it's just about when you're moving the head about, normally you don't want to have any risk of knocking into anything. So from here, we will take the first part of our drawing. And again, we have the same setup of having our materials database. So again, this is something that we build with our customers and obviously show you how to add materials yourself.
Yeah, I'm just going to mention there, Alex, that that's a function that you and I have and the other area managers. So we're offering a free consultancy to all of our customers. We'll help you work out the settings and help you work out the most economical and productive ways to do things as well. That's all free, part of the service.
And so I've moved the laser head to where I want the bottom corner of the job to be, and then I've just taken the job and snapped it to the material, well, to the corner of the head itself. And then all I need to do now is just to press the start button onto here. So what I'll do is I'll just stop sharing so you can have a bigger view of the machine working itself. And then we just add a little bit of air pressure and set the machine off. So it's just giving a few second delay while it boots up the extraction. The laser head comes over and then it starts to cut.
Yeah, it's a really good feature. A lot of our customers like it on the Speedies and the SP machines. Allows you to make real good use of your materials where you've got cut pieces already. You essentially can just drive the laser to a free piece of material and snap your job to that cursor position. So if you like, it's a point and shoot type system. And in the print driver, we've got the ability either to send out our objects within the job within a page. So if we think about an example for that, it might be if you were engraving something on a pre-cut plaque rather than cutting it out yourself, perhaps. But this mode here where we're using the point and shoot, we call this minimizing to job size. So effectively we release the geometries from where they were created within a page and we make them free floating within job control. Do you think I've got that right, Alex?
Yep, I think that's definitely, it's great to have the ability to work with jobs in both ways. Sure. So while that's just doing the last little bits of cutting on there, I'll just quickly show you some of the table inserts. So over here we have the other materials I'm going to process, but more importantly you can see we have here stacked 3 different inserts for the table. So the main thing about this is that they are simply just lift in and lift out. So you don't have to have any special tooling or setup to change the bed. And a lot of our customers will have more than one type of bed. So again, it's the same as like on the Speedy. You tend to use the aluminium grid. It's a very sturdy bed for material that needs a bit of support. And where maybe you're not so fussed about the actual final quality of the cup component. But quite often we find if you want to reduce the flashback, then we'll change to a slat type bed. So here you can see these metal aluminium slats, again, very strong, but reduce the support so you get less flashback. And you can tell, I tend to use that for processing woods and MDFs, which is why we've got that discoloration on there. And the final option is you can actually replace these metal slats, so they just lift in and out, with acrylic slats. So by using an acrylic type bed, although it is a consumable, it does stop all of that flashback, and it's actually something that you can kind of engineer yourself onto a Speedy as well.
Yeah, it's a good system.
So
thanks for that, Alex.
No problem. So just come back across to the machine where it's just finishing up the cutting.
So that's quite a detailed contour there. Like everyone, I know that we cut beautifully smooth curves, with nice polished glassy finishes. Obviously we're not going to see that quite so much on the MDF here.
If we do, it's come out great.
Yeah, no one's going to complain.
But again, so just for an example, let me just quickly check the timer on job control. So it took about 3.5 minutes to cut that. So again, this is when you weigh up, do you want 400 watts, and then you want to be cutting it just over 1.5 minutes for the same job.
Yeah, twice the power, half the time.
So again, nicely cut, nice and easy to remove. And you can see the top surface always tends to be nice and clean, even with this thickness of material. And the way we achieve that is by using a very high nozzle pressure. And again, you can achieve this with a Speedy, so you can get what's called a gas kit, and that allows you to hook up compressed air to the machine. So if you are working with wood, it is something worth investigating. And then on the back, you can see obviously we start to get some discoloration from where the laser hits all of these little squares, but that's where you might consider using the slat type table if you wanted to try and reduce those marks in here. But typically, obviously with wooden components, they undergo post-processing, so painting or sanding and varnishing.
Yeah, or they're fixed to the back of the wall. So just to mention, on the compressor side of things, the compressed air supply needs to be clean, oil and water free. It doesn't need to be warmed from memory, so as long as it's got no water and no oil inside it, otherwise you're just going to get it on top of your onto the optics.
Yep. So while I'm just quickly swapping over, so I think for the next material maybe we'll do our Trotec acrylic. So this is just to show that even with the high power, we're still able to process relatively thin material. So this is our Trotec metallic. We've already have 3M on the back, which is going to allow us to assemble it nice and quickly. And as I'm just cutting the material, I'm leaving this protective film on the top surface as well.
So this is 1.6 millimeter thick material, Alex, yeah?
Yes, yep.
Okay, so I know we've got customers that cut thinner with 200 watts as well. So we've got a lot of adjustment on the power side of things, also on the speeds, so that we can balance the flow. And if we were watching the earlier broadcasts, you'll know that when we're cutting with these RF laser tubes, we can adjust the frequency of the laser as well. So we can have a low frequency for soft materials, a high frequency for hard materials. I mean, as an example, wood we might cut with 2000 hertz. Acrylic we might cut with 20,000 hertz or above, so that we can create a nice flame polished edge to it, and save you having to make that a separate process.
Exactly. And let me just bring back up our job control. So again, we just set the focus and then press the Z lock, bring the laser head above roughly where I want the job to start. It should be about here. And then we can just go back into the job queue, bring on the artwork, and then we see what it looks like here, and snap it onto there. And then what I'm doing a little order check, just to check it's going to fit onto the material nicely, which it will. And then it's simply just a case of hitting the start button again. So obviously with this material, we're able to process it a lot quicker. So we're up at around 18% speed, and we're still only using the standard path planning. So with our latest generation of electronics, we can choose how we control the acceleration of the machine, and you have the ability to either aim it towards accuracy, towards standard, which is obviously just a base setting, or towards throughput, where it will use the maximum acceleration even with very tight curves.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a useful feature, being able to outline the jobs to make sure they're going to fit on the plate.
Let's bring the camera a little bit closer, and then again I will start the job off in our job control software.
Yeah, so that run up is pre-programmable in job control and in Ruby, and an overrun as well, so you can get the laser or get the extraction running up to speed and very efficient before you start processing, and then also leave it on for a few seconds to keep the plate held down and to extract as much of the gas and particulate as you can before you change the laser over. That's a feature all through the Speedy and the SP range.
And I think the thing you can really see here is when we have these nice, even with these curves, our latest software and electronics really allows it to be carried at a very good cut speed. So there's no pausing, no jittering. So if you know how to obviously work with the artwork, our new electronics can really be able to cut these curves really smoothly, but also at a high speed.
Yeah, before that it was pretty normal to think about the contours in the geometries in the workpiece, and where you might have had to use two different colors. So perhaps one color for very small detailed contours, and another color for more flowing shapes, where you could change the speed and the power parameters to work with it. We don't need to do that anymore. We just have one set of geometries, and the Optimotion controller does the rest.
Yep. So I'll just quickly go get our final bits of material. And again, if there are any questions at all, do ask away.
I think we must have sent everyone asleep, Alex. There could be that we're the last show of the day. We don't want everybody out.
I'm trying to think who was on before us. Was it Brian?
Yeah, I think we could say. Don't get
we'll
me in
blame
trouble.
Brian. So we're now going to cut some 3mm acrylic. So I'm sure this is a material that a lot of you are used to processing. So again, just reveal slightly more of the bed.
Yeah, there's nothing special with that material blocking that off. It's just millimeter thick natural rubber.
And then we'll bring that onto here like so. So one of the other features we can talk about, and this is available with the actual software with the speedies as well. So you can let me know, Andy, hopefully you can see job control again.
Yeah, we've got job control on the screen.
So what I'll actually have a quick look at is, let's just find the file, is earlier we were creating some little dividers for the room. So let's just take one of these. And what we actually have is the ability to look at these files and try and optimize them. So generally on speedy machines, it's not so critical. But when obviously you're working with bigger and longer jobs such as this, then you really want to try and optimize the actual job itself. So if we bring this in and we right click on here, we can click edit job, and then that will bring up another little bit of software. So
yeah, another module. So these are ways to really be able to optimize your job and check for errors in the files. Yeah. So for instance, you can look for duplicate lines, delete duplicate lines, repair geometries, and do some advanced sorting.
So what we'll have a quick look for this one is just a basic, which I tend to do for pretty much most of my larger jobs that I bring onto here, is we can just go up to optimize and click on sort. Now this will be processed depending on the speed of the actual computer that you run. So obviously if you have a fast computer, it will run the job faster, but you can hopefully, you might be able to see just down there, it's resulted in a 27% shorter toolpath. So
Yeah,
that is a really big
hard
reduction.
to see, but that's good.
Yeah. And again, we'll see if the computer will survive. We can also have a look at a simulation of how the machine will actually process the paths as well. But you can see in these couple of steps, I've just reduced the toolpath by 27%, which if this whole panel, I believe when we did it out of 20 mil was about, it's about 55, 60 minutes. So it would be a good amount of time saved by just a couple of minutes work on here. So let's go back, just reshare and bring up job control. And we'll move on to the final part of this artwork.
I'll just chip in there, just to say to anybody that's using a Speedy, if you're interested in having a conversation about whether or not that job control cut would work for you, get in touch with your local showroom or with us through the marketing or any of the email contact addresses, and we'll let you know. It's very easy to put it up on a screen view, do a little Zoom conversation, and we can show you if we could save you any time.
So again, put the job into the right place, and we'll just bring on the focusing. And then we put in our safe height by pressing the auto button here, and then we can start the job. So again, we'll have a couple of seconds here while it boots up to do the extraction.
So this is 3mm acrylic, I think, Alex. I mean, it's going around there pretty much as fast as the 1.5mm, it looks.
Yeah, so when you're working with the tighter contours, if you want to be able to really take advantage of that speed, then you do need to set it to acceleration on your path planning mode, because otherwise you'll find you're actually limited by the acceleration rather than the set speed. And that again applies to anyone who has a Speedy 400. Well, of the latest type.
Yeah, that's impressive. Impressive bit of kit, that's for sure. So we've got these. Oh, sorry, Alex, go on.
I was going to say after this, I don't know if you've got some samples that you'd also like to just show at all of the acrylics.
Yeah, I can do that, and you're going to pick that up and start assembling it, I think, anyway. So let me remove. Oh, I think I accidentally removed Alex from the stream there. Sorry about that. Don't take it personally. Okay, and I want to do a share screen now. I think we can just perhaps show you here. So here's an example of the type of finish that we can produce on the acrylic. That's a beautiful laser polished edge. It's hard to get it at the right angle to the camera. And it's picking up all my lights from the ceiling, but they are. It's almost translucent all the way through.
I've definitely come across several customers where they've gone from manual flame polishing to obviously having the ability to have this kind of effect straight from the machine. And we've had several clients where that's been a big part of the justification of looking at getting one of these machines.
Yeah, I mean, compared to using a CNC machine with a rotating cutter, we have a frictionless machining process, so we don't have to worry about clamping the job down, even with very thin sheets, which are very problematical. 3mm acrylic on a router is a real difficult application. We don't make any swarf, so everything that all our cuts are being vaporized, so we're ending up, perhaps we could say, as a rule of thumb, with more gas from plastics and more smoke or particulate from woods, but they are taken away by that extraction system and either sent to the outside air or to a filter system if you are in a controlled zone for emissions or something like that. So it's much easier to work with, and the list of materials is broader, I dare say, than that's possible on a router machine.
I think that's
thank you for that.
Definitely in terms of like you say, the ease of setup, so not having to go through any of the obviously clamping, and obviously a lot of the CNC machines do have vacuum beds and other thing, but it's very easy just to quickly swap between the materials. So yeah, hopefully that's given you an idea of kind of the process and an idea of how the machine works, and showing just how simple it is to work with.
Yeah, thank you for that. I guess we're going to be joined by James shortly.
Hello.
Oh wow, that was quick.
Gentlemen.
You made me jump there, nearly fell off my chair.
I do apologise. There we go. No, great session there, guys. Lots of good info and great demo from Alex.
Yeah,
yep.
I just point the finger these days, but he can't see me because he's next door.
Of course not.
It does make me work hard, honestly.
Well, all those cups of tea can't be wished to.
Well, pre-COVID, he used to get a cup of tea, that's for sure. It's every man for himself now.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, it's really good, guys. And Alex, that it's nice multi-layering you've done there. It's definitely showcases the different mechanics of not just the machine but the materials.
I should say as well, all of these files and artwork that we have around the showroom are available on our website. So if you go to the knowledge part of the Trotec Laser website, click on there, you can just download this file. So if you want to make a few little samples or have a go at that, it's very easy to access.
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of our newer ones made of the neon acrylic. So you'll find, obviously you can make it nice yellows or lime greens. We just went for pink because it's obviously a flamingo, so it just makes sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely, in more ways than one. I'd like to add, if anybody is making or manufacturing using a router or another process, if they think a laser might save you some time, then we can provide a consultation to do that. So we can do that virtually these days, and of course we will meet people under the government guidelines where it is necessary. So don't hesitate to get in touch. We've got 6 of these showrooms all over the UK. 5 in the UK and 1 in ERA in Dublin. Yeah. But only one SP2000 just here. We've got friendly customers around the country who, of course, would be happy to help show machines as well. So if you are up in the north of England, you don't think you have to travel all the way down here, we could arrange something locally for you as well. We try to remain on good friendly terms with all of our customers. I'd say that's somewhat of a success story for us, thank the Lord.
Absolutely. We've got a little request for you here, by the way, Alex.
I don't accept questions from our own company. It's fine.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much for that, guys.